Well, keep in mind that this is someone who knows absolutely nothing about military affairs. And he's dealing with people who are overwhelmingly air power fanatics. And then you have some special ops types, and the Special Operations Command has more than its share of people that are willing to go to war at the drop of a hat, especially if they think they can play a role. I hate to be frank, but I was in for 28 years, and for everybody that was sober minded, there were at least two or three that were ready to yeehaw, let's go. And I think that's part of the problem. There are still people in uniform who are saying, well, if we do the following things, if we penetrate deeply, we can go find this enriched uranium. We can identify it. If we can't get it out, then we can target it and destroy it. They miss the larger point. Nobody is thinking about the larger issues. That's why the commentary at the beginning about the global economy and the danger that is approaching right now around the planet is something that doesn't even show up in any of the president's commentary or speeches. The farmers collectively in the United States sent a letter to Trump. I forgot the name of the agricultural organization that represented them, but it was a very interesting letter. It was very sound and very straightforward and said, look, if you keep this up, it's going to destroy us. We won't survive it. It's not just fertilizer. It's a whole range of things that are important to farming. You would think that if you're hearing from farmers collectively in the United States, the people that grow our food, and they were asking you to reconsider, you would do so. But this ultimately is not about them. It's not about anything but Donald Trump. We've got to go back to Roy Cohn and Roy Cohn's systematic brainwashing of Donald Trump as a young man. And Donald Trump has gotten away with lots of things. I mean, the man's declared bankruptcy 6 times in his life. He's turned it into a business model. And what did he do after declaring bankruptcy? Washes his hands and walks away. I mean, I've run into people all over the United States that tell me, I used to work at the casino that Trump had, and I'm one of X number of people that were never paid, that nothing was ever done for us. We were supposed to have this, that, and the next thing. And I said, well, I'm very sorry to hear that. And they say to me, well, you're on TV. Can you help me? What can I tell these people? I can't. And I think Donald Trump is still the marketing genius that he always was. He's a con man. He sold everybody a bill of goods. Now he's in a very difficult position, and he's going to ask the U.S. military to rescue him. That's where we're headed, because I don't think this meeting will occur. And even if it does, it's not going to produce anything, in which case he'll then bomb, because that's what his ego demands. Asking him to step down or step away from a bad decision with terrible strategic implications for us and the rest of the world is not something he's going to even understand. In his mind, anything that he says has to be a victory. Anything he does is a victory. Anything he does works. He's the greatest. Just ask him. He'll tell you ad infinitum. And unfortunately, in our society, we tend to value those people. We listen to people say, well, I'm the greatest. And listen, there's nobody that knows more about this than I do. Yeah, right. In other societies, people are put off by that. When people exercise some humility in the United States, they say, what's wrong with this guy? I think we've now gotten a dose of medicine that, quite frankly, is being overdue for some time. I hope this is the last of it. And I hope that when this is over, he and everybody else in Washington will be swept away. Because the thing to keep in mind is that all of these people in the government are part of this disaster. How many times have people on the Hill stood up and outlined in detail all the critical strategic reasons why this is a bad idea and should not be followed? Very rarely. I mean, you can talk about Rouhana, and you can talk about Thomas Massey. Marjorie Taylor Greene eventually came around to this. There are some others, but remarkably few. So the entire Beltway is this poisonous, stagnant pool of people obsessed with one thing, and that is enriching themselves. And quite frankly, whatever else happens doesn't matter as long as the donors can keep them in their office. And that's what it comes down to. How many times have we heard somebody say, look, voters don't win elections, donors win elections? That says something about this thing we call democracy that leaves much to be desired.
Indeed, it does. And I want to look at because you mentioned if these talks happen. So I'm showing you here, this is their senior negotiator, Ghalibaf, who's their Speaker of the Islamic Parliament. This is the only thing he has posted so far today. They'll sell war to make what great again? Inflation, unaffordability, oligarchs, etc. That's very interesting because he still has not addressed whether or not they're going to even have these negotiations. That's an odd thing for him to post. Something else that was odd by Professor Morandi, whom I think you know. He posted this, and as you'll see on the timestamp there, it was right about the time President Trump finished speaking this morning. And his statement, everyone should immediately leave the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi, and Kuwait. Sailors on ships in the Persian Gulf must be prepared to evacuate their ships. This is especially urgent for ships near the Strait of Hormuz, which will be destroyed first. Time is running out. I texted him back as soon as I saw that, and I said, well, given that there's supposed to be talks today, is there a subtle message here? And he actually replied just a second ago, and he said that unless Trump changes course, there will be no talks. And he goes, yes, and I think you're absolutely correct that this is a situation that everybody is preparing for conflict and renewed fighting. So the Iranians still have not officially said they were going to join it. He's not officially. He told us that last time he was on the show. He said, I'm not connected with the government, but he clearly is connected to folks who are. And so I think we have to take that very seriously. And I mean, it sounds self-evident, but what does that tell you about what's coming within the next 2 or 3 days?
Well, he's reaffirming what the Iranians have said they would do, which is if you attack us on the scale that you're promising and you hit the targets that you say you're going to hit, then we are going to strike the west coast of the Persian Gulf from the border between UAE and Oman all the way up to Kuwait. And we are going to incinerate, destroy, annihilate, use whatever, fancy terms that Donald Trump likes to talk in terms of. And that's what they're going to do. And when that happens, you're talking about a very long time before things are rebuilt. And it makes it absolutely clear that the status quo is no longer sustainable. And I think people need to understand that one of the things that the Iranians want is they want us out of the Gulf. We have tried to encircle Iran. After having encircled the Soviet Union, at least in terms of containment, we seem to think that that was the answer for everything. And so this containment strategy, which was never supposed to be hopelessly militarized, is now the preferred option. We've tried to surround Iran. We're talking about containing China, which is astonishing. If you look at the size of China and its population, its importance. By the way, if you could turn to that chart that I sent earlier today very briefly, there's something that Americans need to understand. Pushing up borrowing costs everywhere except in China. Now, what does that mean? What that means is that China is stable. China is the world's creditor now, not the United States. And China is becoming the global safe haven for wealth, not the United States. Just look at the lines, where they go. What does this mean to the bonds, the treasuries? It means that the yields are rising. They have to rise or you can't attract any investment. That's unsustainable. So quite frankly, I think regardless of what Trump does at this stage, we've seen the end of the petrodollar. That's done. We're going to see probably the yuan petro or the petro basket of currencies or something else, but the petrodollar is finished. That is a huge foundational stone for our prosperity in the world. And, Americans need to understand that what we've done is destroy ourselves with this war. Whatever damage we think we've done to Iran, the long-term strategic damage to our country and to the rest of the world is far greater. Iran will survive. Iran will come back. There's no doubt about it. Just as Russia has survived and Russia has come roaring back. China is going to survive and China's roaring back. In fact, China is now the world's largest economy, not the United States. And we've made matters worse because we constantly seem to opt for the threats of military power because that apparently is the only tool we've got left. Well, we threatened everyone with tariffs. That's backfired badly. I don't see that we benefited from any of that. This president is all about bullying and threats, and it's back to the Roy Cohn School of Business. Number one, deny everything, admit nothing. Number two, threaten everybody, attack all the time. And finally, whatever happens, declare victory, claim that you've got control, that you're in charge, and everything's just fine. When Trump is driven out of office as a result of all of this, and I think it's inevitable at this stage, he's going to be making the same speech on his way out. I'm great. Everything was better under me, and we've been wildly successful. Thanks. No thanks. He's finished.